So why do I prefer Firefox as a daily driver and not Google Chrome? It's mostly personal preference, a little bit of nostalgia, and I believe CSS support is also better in Firefox. I started using Internet Explorer in the beginning. Before that, I used another browser called Netscape Navigator. It used to be a really cool browser back in the time. It did things very differently than Internet Explorer. First time when I saw Firefox was around 2007 and 8, and I believe it was version 2. It gave me the feeling which is so similar to the Netscape Navigator that I instantly started liking it, and I made a switch over from Internet Explorer to the Firefox. Also, Firefox at that time provided a lot of customizability and features which Internet Explorer and other native browsers did not. That way I started liking Firefox more and more and use it as my daily browser. When Google Chrome just came out, I installed it immediately. I really liked it. It was really modern, fast, sleek, and it did look different than the other browsers, including Firefox. I kept using it for 2 years until again I had to make the switch back to Firefox. After Google Chrome, I again went back to Firefox because of a few reasons. The first being Firefox offered more customizability and it felt more personal because you could customize every aspect of the browser. You could go to add any extensions that you want and make the websites look different. For example, you could turn YouTube into a dark mode. I mean, at a time when dark mode wasn't even a thing, you could turn any web page into however you wanted to, just by using some extensions and some tweaks. It let you do things which Google Chrome and other browsers wouldn't. And also in terms of looks and how it felt like, aesthetically speaking, Firefox also caught up to the race of Google Chrome in the terms of looking or how presentable it was, how easy to use it was, with major changes in design with Firefox version 4. And I really liked it, and I was missing also many features from Firefox while I was using Google Chrome. So eventually I made the switch back to Firefox again. Now I feel like addressing this issue now. Which browser out of these two is the better one? I think you guys can already anticipate that I'm not going to give you a direct answer because there is none. I have seen many benchmark videos, many benchmark tests and articles, and honestly, like you guys, I have done those benchmark tests myself. But all of those tests were inconclusive. I couldn't find a better result that this browser is the best one or the other one is always a loser. It always turned out to be like in some particular tasks, one browser is better than the other one, while let's for example Firefox is better at doing something and Google Chrome is better at doing something else. But since both of them were really backed by and really good development, they were both on par with performance. I mean, I didn't see any noticeable difference in terms of daily usage. So I'll be honest about that. The main difference between the two browsers are about the rendering engine. Rendering engine is something which draws the web page on your browser. So when you go to, for example, facebook.com, the page element that you see, like the page that you see, which you click on, post your status or upload your photos, those things like how it looks like on the browser, it's being painted by something called an engine. So that's what we call rendering engine. So that thing in two different browsers are different. So on Google Chrome, it's called WebKit, and on Firefox, it's called Gecko. Anyways, not going into the technicalities. So it's just two browsers does it a little bit differently, and one is based on the Google's Chromium project, which is open source, and Firefox is based on its own Firefox open source project. The DevTools in Firefox really lays out in a really beautiful way. It shows out the padding, the mark, the computed properties and everything, and even provides you feedback towards the properties which you cannot use or why it cannot be applied to a certain element. So those things, Firefox does it really good and helps me a lot as a developer to speed up my process of development. So when it comes to CSS specification support, Firefox is a winner here. Firefox just supports CSS specifications much wider and in a much better way than Google Chrome, because Firefox is backed by Mozilla, and Mozilla are the ones who literally lead how the web should look like. So by that I mean how the web standards are, or which new CSS rules or which new layout rules should be accepted across all the platforms. That's decided mostly by Mozilla or Mozilla's community, so to say. In my opinion, Firefox outright supports those features in a way that all the other browsers will in the future. So Firefox has a little bit better support, in my opinion, across all of those CSS layouts and features and specifications and the styling. So as a developer, it's really easy for me to develop on a Firefox and see how those features are coming into play, or how the native specifications are gonna be, and try it out on Firefox first before it hits any other browser. Another thing I like really about Firefox is its openness. First of all, it's open source. That means anyone can look into how the browser, how the Firefox is made in terms of programming. So exactly how the code is, or how it's using your data, how you are logging into something, or how it's rendering the page. Everything is open source. So if you have the knowledge, you can go ahead and look into it and see what it's really doing. On the other hand, even though Google Chrome is based on an open source project, so to say, it's Google Chromium, we all know it's open source, but Google Chrome being a proprietary product, it puts some stuff on top of it to hide the openness. So it does some advertisement stuff, like it captures your telemetry, it captures your data, basically what you use on different websites, which websites you visit, which pages you log into. It can collect some of those data to target advertisements more towards your profile. On the other hand, Firefox doesn't record so much of your data when you're using the browser to do your daily stuff. It does collect some data indeed, but not as much as Google Chrome. So also Firefox community, which is so open and so supportive, and is supported by the Linux development as well. So that's also one of the reasons why I prefer Firefox much more than Google Chrome. I really like Firefox, but I'm not a fanboy. That means I'm not hating other browsers, so I prefer other browsers too. But one complaint I have about Firefox is it doesn't natively support PWAs. By PWA, it's called Progressive Web Apps. So those are the apps, no, not apps. Those are the websites which you visit on a daily basis, like Facebook, YouTube, and you can convert them into an app and use it as a shortcut on your desktop. So they kind of behave like a app which you would install on your Windows or any other operating system, but they are essentially loading up just a website, but in its own window. So they kind of feel like an app. That support Firefox is still missing. But Google Chrome and Edge Chromium does it really good. Like Edge Chromium is really amazing at installing the PWAs on your system. You can do it with just 2 clicks. And I know on the Firefox community, the talks are going on for a long time to support this feature, but it's still not there yet. I'll also tell you guys about all the other browsers which are out there, and I have used them as well. Not that I'm only using between these 2 browsers or only using Firefox all the time. No, not like that. Because I'm a web developer, so I keep using different browsers to see how they perform, how the designs look like, if I did something wrong or not. So I did use Vivaldi, I did use Brave, I did use Firefox. So all these browsers out there, they're essentially a skin on top of this Google Chromium or the Firefox browser. So it feels like someone as if install some extensions on top of these browsers and customize it a little bit, enable some flags, did some icon changes, and turn it to a new browser. So if you ask me, I wouldn't prefer it that way, to someone to already do the customizations for me. No, I would prefer to install it on my own and do the customizations on my own. So if I want to block some ads, I would install an extension and block them. So I don't need the browser to natively do that for me. And they are not providing any other extra features than Firefox and Google Chromium except for these extensions. So I will stick to my Firefox for the time being. To end the video, I would really want to know which browser do you use, whether it's Firefox, Google Chrome or Brave, and why. So I don't want to know the reasons, like if you use the browser Google Chrome just because everyone else out there uses it. No, I want to know the real reason, because maybe it helps me to learn something more from you and you can share with me your experience.